we've heard all kinds of allegations, but how do you explain that the Patel FBI was able to identify a pipe bomb suspect once they put their attention to it within about 6 weeks, but the Ray FBI failed to identify a single suspect or make one arrest in 4 years? And what does that tell you about the way the investigation was handled? And why did it take so long for the Ray folks to even look at doing a pipe bomb investigation? Can you give me some insight on that?
Certainly. What you saw with the...
Welcome back to Freedom Forge, where we break through the noise and bring you the truth that corporate media won't touch. Before we dig in, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support helps us keep forging freedom and shining a light on what's really going on in America. Today, we're reacting to a Senate hearing that's got a lot of folks talking. This hearing dove deep into the investigation around the infamous January 6 pipe bombs, the use of the OK hand gesture, and the FBI's role in the chaos that unfolded at the Capitol. We saw some strong questioning from Congressman Griffith, and the answers, or lack thereof, from witnesses should concern every freedom-loving American. I'll be walking you through what was said, what it really means, and why this matters for our republic.
Virginia, Mr. Griffith, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Romano, let's first clear up the OK sign. The OK sign is more predominantly just used to say OK, is it not, than it is for white supremacy?
Sometimes it is. Historically, yes, but sometimes it's used
even today,
as
a majority of the time, worldwide, it's not a white supremacist sign. Wouldn't that be true?
I don't know that I could speak to the majority of cases now.
Let's move on. I got so many things to ask. I've been concerned with this whole pipe bomb situation for some time, and I want to ask you some questions because as a prosecutor, I too, as Ms. Crockett just pointed out, was a criminal defense attorney. I too was a criminal defense attorney. And absent a confession, would you agree with me that with the evidence that we know that the pipe bombs were allegedly planted, by Mr. Cole on the night of January 5th, but we have the witness at the RNC who says they weren't there then, and we have the situation where the folks came through with the explosive sniffing dogs before the pipe bombs were supposed to be there, but before they were found and didn't hit on the pipe bombs. Wouldn't you agree that as a prosecutor, absent the confession by Mr. Cole, you'd have a hard time getting a conviction? Wouldn't you agree with that?
Maybe yes, maybe no. It depends on the rest of the evidence, which I understand includes evidence of financial transactions that he engaged in, license plate reader hits, that sort of thing.
Yeah, but intending to do something and actually succeeding in doing it are two different things. And if you've got dogs and people saying the bombs weren't there when they were supposed to have already been planted by him, and he's confessed to planting them the night before, I think I win that one. Now, we can disagree about that and talk about it later. Let me ask you some additional questions, if I might. Were you ever advised as you were doing your investigations of any FBI agents on January 6, 2021 being inside the Capitol and observing the January 6 rioters?
I'm not sure what you mean. I wasn't aware of, nor did I see any evidence of FBI agents within the crowd or planted there, if that's what you're getting.
All right, how about FBI paid informants?
I understand there were people who had been signed up as informants by the FBI who went there, not at the direction of their FBI handlers, but individually. There were a small handful of such individuals.
And did you interview those individuals?
No.
And did anybody in your office interview those individuals?
They may have. I'm not certain, as I said here today.
And you didn't call any of those individuals as witnesses in any of the cases?
I did not. I, again, couldn't say that it didn't happen in any case, but I did not.
All right. And did anyone, while you were the prosecutor and working on this, did anyone bring you information regarding Congressman Barry Loudermilk?
No.
Did anybody bring you any information of any wrongdoing ever done by Congressman Barry Loudermilk?
No, I certainly didn't receive any evidence of wrongdoing by the chairman.
And if there was a thorough investigation and it at one point mentioned that there might have been a problem, and then that final report didn't have any report saying that there was no problem, that might be an issue of contention, wouldn't you agree? Not that you agree with the premise, but that there could be an issue of contention there.
I think I'd have to know more about the circumstances.
All right, I appreciate that. That being said, let me go to Mr. Paiota. we've heard all kinds of allegations, but how do you explain that the Patel FBI was able to identify a pipe bomb suspect once they put their attention to it within about 6 weeks, but the Ray FBI failed to identify a single suspect or make one arrest in 4 years? And what does that tell you about the way the investigation was handled? And why did it take so long for the Ray folks to even look at doing a pipe bomb investigation? Can you give me some insight on that?
Certainly. What you saw with the incoming leadership team from Director Patel was a renewed focus, renewed energy, resourcing, and a new perspective on what they were looking for. Under the Ray FBI, this case was allowed to languish. It started to lose energy over time. There was a split of resources. There was a split of attention. And what happened,
Well, it looked like that happened within the first couple of months. Would that be standard at the FBI in a case of a pipe bomb being left outside the Republican National Committee headquarters and the Democrat National Committee headquarters? Does that make sense?
No, it's highly unusual, but they did have the larger events that happened on January 6th that they diverted attention, energy, resources to. So the headquarters senior leadership and the Washington Field senior leadership diverted their attention.
But wouldn't you have been concerned, because I certainly would be as a member of the Republican Party, for the Republicans and for my friends on the other side of the aisle at the Democrat headquarters, if somebody planted a bomb and they have no idea who it is, that there might be a repeat offense, and that we really ought to dig into that because both Republican lawmakers and Democrat lawmakers were at risk.
Absolutely, it was a public safety issue. And they failed to do that, and it was a lack of focus.
I think it was more than a lack of focus. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Let's start with the so-called controversy over the OK sign. Congressmen like Griffith are finally pushing back on this absurd narrative that a simple hand gesture, used by millions around the world to just mean OK, is somehow a hidden white supremacist signal. Folks, this is the kind of weaponization of language that the left loves to use. They want to take normal, everyday behaviors and twist them into something sinister to attack their political opponents. The witness even admitted, historically, the OK sign just meant OK. Sure, a few bad actors have tried to co-opt it, but does that mean we let the left redefine our language and culture? I say no. We need more leaders willing to challenge these narratives, because if we don't, the language police will run wild. Now, let's get to the real meat of this hearing, the pipe bomb investigation. You want to talk about government incompetence? Or maybe even something more suspicious. Here it is. The story goes that Mr. Cole allegedly planted pipe bombs outside both the Republican and Democrat National Committee headquarters on the night before January 6th. That's what the confession says, but here's where it gets interesting. A witness at the RNC says the bombs weren't there when they should have been. Even more damning, the explosive-sniffing dogs were run through the area after the bombs were supposedly planted, but they didn't pick up on anything. As a former defense attorney, Griffith pointed out that if it weren't for a confession, this case would be tough to prosecute. And he's right. If your physical evidence and your timeline don't line up, how do you expect a conviction? Are we just supposed to take the government's word for it when the facts don't add up? But it gets worse. When asked about the FBI's presence inside the Capitol on January 6th, Mr. Verono, the prosecutor, said he wasn't aware of any FBI agents being planted in the crowd. But, and this is a big but, he admitted there were a small handful of FBI informants in the crowd who were not acting at FBI direction. Think about that. They want us to believe the federal government had no foreknowledge, no involvement, yet their informants were there. And then Verono says he didn't personally interview any of those informants and doesn't even know if anyone in his office did, or if they were called as witnesses. What kind of investigation is this? If you're trying to get to the bottom of what happened, don't you talk to every single person with inside knowledge? Or is this just another case of the FBI covering for itself? Moving on, there was also some mudslinging about Congressman Barry Loudermilk. Verono confirmed he never received any evidence of wrongdoing by Loudermilk. None. Yet the media and the left keep trying to smear anyone who supports President Trump or questions the official narrative. It's trial by innuendo, and it's time we called it out. Now, here's what really should make your blood boil. The difference in how the FBI handled the pipe bomb case under different leadership. When Director Patel took over, the The FBI identified a suspect within 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Compare that to the 4 years of inaction under Director Ray, when nothing happened. Why? According to Mr. Paiota, under Ray, the investigation languished. Attention and resources were diverted to the broader January 6th events. Excuse me, but how do you let a case involving actual bombs left at the doorsteps of both major political parties' headquarters slip through the cracks? This is not a small matter. This is a direct threat to our democratic institutions, to the safety of Republicans and Democrats alike, to the very heart of our country. And yet, the FBI leadership let it fade into the background. Paiota admitted that's not standard procedure. He called it highly unusual. You're telling me that with members of Congress from both parties at risk, the FBI just shrugs and moves on to something else? Either they were grossly incompetent, or they had other motives for dragging their feet. Neither answer is acceptable. When the leadership finally changed and someone with a real sense of urgency took charge, suddenly there's renewed focus, renewed energy, resourcing, and a new perspective. That's bureaucratic speak for, we finally decided to do our jobs. It should never have taken a change in leadership to get serious about a terrorist act in our capital. Congressman Griffith was absolutely right to hammer this point. Public safety should never be a partisan issue. The fact that bombs were planted at both RNC and DNC headquarters means this could have happened to anyone. And the FBI's job is to protect all Americans. When they fail, and when they hide behind excuses, it's up to us as citizens to demand better. So, what's the takeaway from all this? The deep state is real. Bureaucrats drag their feet when it suits them and only act when they absolutely have to. Our elected leaders need to keep asking tough questions, and we need to keep holding them accountable. If we let the FBI and DOJ operate in the shadows, ignoring their failures and covering up their mistakes, our freedoms are at risk. That's why we do what we do here at Freedom Forge. We call out the hypocrisy, the incompetence, and the outright corruption that threatens our republic. If you value truth, transparency, and the Constitution, make sure you're subscribed. Share this video far and wide. The more people know, the harder it is for the elites to keep us in the dark. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you believe the official story on these pipe bombs? Do you think the FBI is hiding something? How do we restore trust in our institutions? I want to hear from you. Thanks for watching, Patriots. Stay free, stay vigilant, and keep forging ahead.